Have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror and thought, where did I go? Not in a dramatic way, but in those quiet moments when you're alone, brushing your teeth, getting dressed, or climbing into bed beside the same woman you've loved for decades. You feel it. Something shifted. Your strength isn't the same. The fire you once carried, even if dimmed with age, now feels like it's fading altogether. You used to wake up ready for life. Now, you wake up stiff in all the wrong ways. Tired, disconnected, maybe even a little invisible. But here's what no one ever told you. It's not just aging. It's not just how it is. And if you felt any of this lately, I need you to hear me clearly. There's a part of your health you may have quietly given up on, and that silent decision might be robbing you of energy, circulation, connection, even years off your life. I'm Dr. Edward, a men's health specialist and urologist with over 35 years of experience helping older men reclaim what they thought was lost: blood flow, sexual vitality, confidence, and that spark that makes you feel like a man again. And today, we're going to talk about something you've probably never heard from your regular doctor. Something that's helped thousands of my patients feel young again, naturally, without pills and without shame. It's personal, it's powerful, and it could change your life. But first, do me a favor. Subscribe and click the bell so you never miss another tip that could reignite your health, energy, and manhood. And tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. I read every single one, and I want to know where my brothers are tuning in from. Now, let's talk about something most men avoid and why that silence could be costing you more than you realize. Our bodies do change with age. That's true. Testosterone dips. Blood vessels lose their elasticity. Sensitivity fades. And yes, desire starts to whisper instead of roar. But what if age wasn't the only reason? What if it's what you stopped doing? Not what time did to you? Let me explain. You see, when a man stops using his muscles, they shrink. You stop walking, your legs weaken. You stop lifting, your arms go soft. And the same goes for your sexual health. When you stop engaging in sexual expression, even solo, your body begins to shut down the systems that supported it for decades. It doesn't just affect your libido. It affects your circulation, your hormones, your sleep, your prostate, your mood, even your memory. You may not have noticed it at first, just a few subtle changes. A foggier morning, less energy, that spark between you and your partner getting quieter. But slowly, the disconnection spreads, and the man you once were begins to dim. The worst part? Most men chalk it up to just getting older. They don't realize what's really happening beneath the surface, a kind of internal rust creeping into their most vital systems. Just because no one ever told them how important this one act of self-connection really is. I'm not talking about fantasy or chasing youth. I'm talking about keeping the engine warm, like starting an old truck every few days so it doesn't seize up. And if that analogy made you smile, you're exactly who I'm here for. Because this isn't about shame. It's about survival. And in the next few moments, I'm going to walk you through the overlooked, unspoken, and scientifically backed truth about how regular sexual self-connection, yes, masturbation, might just be the most powerful, natural tool you have to reclaim your circulation, your energy, your confidence, and even your longevity. But we're going to take it slow, because what I'm about to share may surprise you. Let's begin gently with what I call the first return. Because for one of my patients, that first return changed everything. The first return, the blood flow awakening. His name was Gerald, 71 years old, widowed 5 years, still sharp, still active, still driving his old pickup around Greenville like he owned the place, which in a way he did. But when he sat down in my office that Monday morning, something about him looked dimmed. "Doc," he said, rubbing his hands together, "I'm not dead, but I sure don't feel alive." He wasn't depressed. He wasn't sick. He was lonely, but more than that, he was disconnected. He hadn't been intimate with anyone since his wife passed. Not with another person. Not even with himself. I just stopped, he said. Didn't feel right. Felt silly. Maybe even selfish. And that's when I looked him straight in the eye and said something I rarely hear doctors say out loud. Gerald, when you stopped touching yourself, you told your body it was time to shut down. Now, don't get me wrong. This wasn't about lust or fantasy. This was about circulation. You see, sexual self-connection, especially after 60, isn't about chasing pleasure. It's about waking up blood flow, stimulating the small vessels around the pelvic floor, releasing hormones that ease inflammation and lift mood. And yes, it's about keeping the prostate healthy. We'll talk more about that soon. But for Gerald, it started with a simple routine. Once or twice a week, in the quiet of his room. No screens, no rush, just breath and attention. He focused on gentle touch, on relaxing, on letting the sensation come back naturally, like warming cold fingers in front of fire. At first, he said it felt mechanical, almost foreign. But after the second week, something changed. He began waking up with more energy. His mood lifted. His appetite returned. His sleep got deeper. But the real change came in week 3. He walked back into my office, smiled, and said, "Doc, I feel like someone plugged me back in." That's what I call the first return, when a man's body remembers what it was built to do and does it not out of force but function. And before you roll your eyes and say, "That's just one guy," let me tell you something. Gerald's story is not unique. I've seen this same shift happen hundreds of times. Because when you reintroduce circulation and stimulation, even gently, the body responds. The pelvic floor re-engages. The prostate flushes stagnant fluid. Hormones like dopamine, oxytocin, and testosterone begin to rise. And with it comes something older men rarely talk about, a sense of ownership over your body again. But here's the thing, that was just the beginning. Because the second method, the one I shared with Gerald later, wasn't about the body at all. It was about the mind. And I'll be honest with you, what happened after that, even I didn't expect. The second shift, rewiring the brain's response. Now, Gerald had started to feel more alive, no question. But as weeks passed, another challenge emerged. "I feel better," he told me. "But something's off up here." He tapped his temple. "It's on my mind's foggy. I can't concentrate, and I still don't want anything." That's when I knew it was time for the second layer. You see, physical touch alone doesn't always bring desire back online. Not at our age. Because there's another player in the game, your brain's reward system. Let me explain. Most men over 60 grew up in a world where sex, especially solo sex, was rushed, secretive, even shameful. That means their brain learned to associate self-pleasure with urgency or guilt, not with relaxation and reward. Over time, this kind of wiring dulls the dopamine response. That's the brain chemical tied to motivation, joy, even memory. So I told Gerald something unusual. For the next few weeks, I said, "You're not going to focus on release. You're going to focus on reconnection." He looked at me like I had two heads. "Don't worry," I smiled. "This one involved chanting or yoga, but it will mean changing how your brain responds." Here's what we did. I asked him to set aside 20 minutes, not for stimulation, but for intimate breathing. He was to lie down, breathe deeply, and gently explore touch from head to toe, not just the usual places. Neck, chest, inner thighs, abdomen, slowly. No screens, no fantasy, just presence. The goal wasn't a climax. It was to wake up sensation, to tell the brain, "This is safe, this is good, this is mine." After just 10 days, something shifted. He came back with this big, bashful grin and said, "Doc." I caught myself smiling for no reason. I even made breakfast for a neighbor. That gentleman is the power of neurochemical reset. Because when you touch your body with curiosity instead of urgency, you retrain your brain to produce dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins, the exact same chemicals that combat depression, fogginess, and apathy in older men. And that's not just a mood boost, it's a circulatory and cognitive repair mechanism. Think of it like tuning a guitar that's been in the attic for a decade. The strings are still there. They just need tension, resonance, time. Most men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s never realize they can do this. They think it's over. I'm past that. But Gerald proved something powerful. You're never too old to rewire your brain for pleasure, clarity, and connection. That's what the second method is all about, reviving the internal language of joy. Because when your brain starts producing the right chemicals again, everything changes. Sleep improves, stress drops, focus returns, and that heavy cloud of what's the point starts to lift. And that's when I knew he was ready for the third step, the one most men resist until they realize how much they need it. It's not about stimulation, not about hormones. It's about healing a small but mighty gland that could be sabotaging your energy, your sleep, and even your confidence without you even realizing it. The third key, protecting the prostate, your hidden foundation. Gerald was feeling lighter, more awake, more present, but something still wasn't quite right. I'm still waking up at night, he said. 2, 3 times. I feel like I've got to go, but then not much happens. That's when I asked the one question most older men never expect from their doctor. When was the last time you had a full release? He looked at me, confused, even a little embarrassed. I clarified a full, relaxing, pressure-releasing climax. Not rushed, not forced, the kind that leaves you feeling calm afterward. He couldn't remember. And that's when I knew we needed to talk about his prostate. You see, the prostate is one of the most quietly misunderstood organs in a man's body. It's small, about the size of a walnut, but it plays a massive role in both urinary and sexual function. And after 60, when most men stop engaging in regular intimacy or self-pleasure, something dangerous begins to happen. The prostate stagnates. Without regular ejaculation, even once a week, fluids start to build up. Inflammation begins. Blood flow to the area decreases. And that leads to something called prostate congestion, which feels like that nagging need to urinate at night, a weak or hesitant stream, discomfort you can't quite explain, a quiet pressure in the lower abdomen. And doesn't stop there. Over time, that stagnation can lead to BPH, benign prostatic hyperplasia, which makes the gland swell and press against your bladder. Even worse, stagnation can increase the risk of infection or prostatitis, which leads to burning, difficulty, even pain. Now here's the good news, and I've seen it dozens of times. Regular ejaculation is one of the best ways to protect your prostate naturally. When you climax, the prostate contracts, clears out fluid, and invites fresh blood and oxygen into the area, like flushing a pipe before it clogs. I told Gerald this, and we came up with a plan. Not daily, not rushed, but once or twice a week in a calm, safe, unrushed setting, he would prioritize release like a checkup for his pelvic health. Within a month, he was sleeping through the night. His urgency dropped, his energy during the day, better than it had been in years. And most importantly, he felt ownership over his body again, not just sexually, but as a man who was taking care of himself. Here's the truth that most doctors won't tell you. You don't need a pill to fix your prostate. You need movement. You need flow. You need your body to remember that it's still alive. And self-pleasure, done mindfully, gently, regularly, is one of the most powerful tools you have. No prescription, no surgery, no embarrassment. Just a small, private act that keeps a very important part of you strong, healthy, and responsive. And if you've ever felt ashamed or uncertain about that, let me reassure you, this is not indulgence. This is preventive medicine. And yet, there's still one more layer we need to uncover. Because even if your circulation returns, your hormones stabilize, your prostate stays healthy, you still might struggle if this final piece isn't in place. What is it? Let's just say it lives in your breath, your sleep, your ability to feel calm in your skin. And without it, all the rest falls short.